Y'all need the practice, y'all need the practice. Driving like a Franklin, shooting like a Franklin. Y'all need the practice, y'all need the practice. Walking like a Franklin, smoking like a Franklin. Franklin, 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 still. Franklin, 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 still. Chef from Maserati.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I will be finally reacting to Inkling versus Bendy game, which basically Bendy gang consists of Bendy, Alice, Boris, and Sammy. And the Inklings, I got no idea who's playing who. So basically, I think, well, I'm thinking the Inklings will win because basically their ink can probably dissolve ink. Like basically, you know, since they're made out of ink. Since they're made out of ink, I'm thinking, oh yeah, their ink can probably just dissolve them. And probably negating their durability department too. Because I believe last in the first one that he did, one of the main reasons why the Inklings win was because basically the Inklings basically can dissolve Bendy, so it can't regenerate anymore, or just probably destroy the thing, the ink machine. But either way, but yes, I do think the Inklings will win again. Without further ado, guys, let's get on with this video because it's gonna be a long one. And guys, I did try to record this last week, but I passed out midway during the recording, so that's fun. But this time I won't. It's already early enough for me, and let's get on with this because I got a lot to react to this weekend and make. Because I know some of you guys are probably questioning where's Jim versus Zim versus Earthworm Jim. That's coming out. I have everything ready. I just got recorded, which I didn't have the time last month. So yeah, let's go with this video right now.
Welcome to Showoff Showdown! In this series, the fighters are called showoffs, and this is the series for the Showoff Showdown! Now let's meet the showoffs for tonight's showdown, shall we? That's right, it's the epic ink-filled rematch you've all been waiting for!
Heck yeah.
Tonight, we have a 4-on-4 battle between the Inklings from Splatoon versus the Bendy Gang! Now, as you would have guessed, this battle contains a full-on pre-analysis for all characters on both teams. Better grab yourself some bacon soup, because it's going to be a long run. Now without further ado, it's time for the Showoff Showdown pre-analysis!
Warning, this pre-analysis contains many spoilers from both Splatoon and Bendy and the Ink Machine. If you have not seen nor played either of these games yet,
I have not played on Splatoon, so either way I'll be spoiled.
Of course, it's entirely up to you. You have been warned. Picture this. 12,000 years into the future, a global flood has washed away the Earth and the human race has gone extinct.
God damn, who killed them again?
The world was repopulated by a new race of humanoid beings. Ones that evolved not from primates like we did, but from cephalopods such as squid and octopus. These races were known as the Inklings and Octarians. Now, there's a lot of information to go through, so I'll give you the short version of the Splatoon backstory. For many years, the Inklings have engaged in a civil war with each other, which was known as turf wars, until they were faced with a new enemy known as the Octarians. Long story short, after defeating their Octarian enemy and banishing them to who knows where, the Inkling race inherits the world, and they eventually form their own modern society in a city known as Inkopolis. A place where hip, fresh squid kids can hang out, go on about the latest fashion, and participate in Splatfest for turf wars, which was once an active war, but is now their signature traditional sport. Okay, now that I've summarized the Splatoon lore, let's talk about tonight's fresh combatants. The Inklings that are fighting in tonight's battle are Agent 3, Callie and Marie, and Agent 8. I was originally going to use Agent 4, but instead I chose
Who
Agent
the
8 to add a little more variety. Anyway, I will start by describing their characters and stories, and then I'll move on to other important details later.
I have
Now
no
let's
idea
start
who
off with
any of
Agent
the
3.
agents are.
Agent 3 was once
Oh.
an ordinary Inkling until she met Captain Cuttlefish, who
What?
recruited Agent 3 as a new member of the Squid Beaks platoon. Now, it is actually up to the player if Agent 3 is a male or female, but the female version is more iconic, so that's what I'll be sticking with. Anyway, Captain Cuttlefish has given Agent 3 a mission to save the Great Zapfish. The Great Zapfish is the main source of power for all of Inkopolis, which has been stolen by the Inklings' old enemy, the Octarians, which is why Agent 3 must defeat them and save the Zapfish. After battling her way through many stages
Isn't
and
that a
defeating
shocker?
many Octarian troops and bosses of all shapes and sizes, Agent 3 confronts the 8-legged mastermind behind it all, DJ Octavio. After a long, hard-fought epic battle, Agent 3 defeated DJ
Listen a
Octavio,
minute.
rescued the Great Zapfish, along with Captain Cuttlefish, who got kidnapped in the process.
God
Now, not
damn
much
it,
is
old
known about
man.
Agent 3's character, other than the things Marie said about her in Splatoon 2, and Agent 3 being somewhere between 14 and 16 years of age. Now, Agent 3 also
bad.
plays a role in the Octo expansion in Splatoon 2, but I'll talk more about that later. In the meantime, let's see which squid is next. Ladies and gentle squids, meet Callie and Marie, aka the Squid Sisters. While they're ironically cousins,
The sisters.
they're as tight as family could get. The Squid Sisters are known for being the iconic pop-singing superstar duo and hosts of Inkopolis News. But in secret, they are also the original Agents 1 and 2, so they have plenty of experience in the field, and they've even assisted Agent 3 after the captain was kidnapped.
Oh
Now, when it
my.
comes to the character and personality, both Squid Sisters are clever and passionate about not only their music, but entertaining their fans. In fact, they've even performed at real-life concerts in front of us humans.
What? What the fuck?
Yes, this actually happened. Anyway, Callie is cheery, optimistic, and peppy, with the occasional
okay.
sarcastic remark, while Marie is sassier and has more pronounced sarcastic and lazy tendencies. While the Squid Sisters
Okay,
were
look
thought to be
here.
inseparable,
We got-
however,
get over
when the final
there.
Splatfest of Splatoon 1 took place, it was Team Callie versus Team Marie. Long story short, Team Marie won the Splatfest. While
Damn
the
it.
Squid Sisters seemed like they were good sports at first, but after the Splatfest was over, Callie and Marie both took separate paths, and the two ended up being driven further and further away from each other, and there's a whole archive of Squid Sisters stories to go deep into detail. Anyway, when the
Jeez.
events of Splatoon 2 took place, Marie found out that Callie was missing, and coincidentally so was the Great Zapfish once again. So Marie decided to become the mentor of the newly
Heck.
recruited Agent 4, whose mission was to find Callie and the Great Zapfish. Marie guided Agent 4 throughout their entire journey until they reached the final boss. It was then revealed that Callie was kidnapped by DJ Octavio, who remixed Callie's brain with his hypno shades. Now, I don't really remember
Oh.
why DJ Octavio needed Callie for his diabolical plan. I'm guessing he either needed her singing voice to power his machine or something, or maybe he just wanted to brainwash Callie so he could make her wear that outfit. Hey, can't say I blame him. Anyway, after Marie shot the hypno shades off of Callie's face and brought her back to her normal self, the Squid Sisters reunited for one last musical showdown. As Agent 4 was bringing down DJ Octavio, the Squid Sisters were singing their most famous song known as Calamari Incantation. In fact, this particular song is to believe to possess some sort of supernatural or magical powers, as their voices alone were able to magically free Captain Cuttlefish, override DJ Octavio's music, and remember what I said earlier about the Octarians originally being the bad guys? Well, Marina
Yeah.
claims that no Octoling could hear the song and willingly continue to live the lives in Octarian society. Or in other words, once the Squid Sisters' positively enchanting song hits the ears of an Octoling, it essentially
yeah.
purifies their heart and soul, giving them a change of heart and a new sense of morality and free will, and all the evil influence that once corrupted their hearts will be gone forever, basically making them better people. Man, I wish it was that easy in real life.
Right.
Maybe that's part of the reason why humanity went extinct in the Splatoon universe. Anyway, that song is how Octolings like
Spoilers.
Marina and Agent 8 came to be, but I'll talk more about them later. Well, who knew a simple song could do so much? I guess that's why it's considered their heavenly melody. Speaking of heavenly, it is also believed that the Squid Sisters are also shrine maidens who transmit divine messages from God to the Inklings during Splatfests, essentially making them Splatoon's equivalent of Moses, or at least
I
that
knew
was
it.
the original concept idea. Now, all the over-the-top stuff aside, while Callie and Marie are exceptionally young, they are very wise and knowledgeable like fortune tellers, especially when it comes to weapons, tips, battle strategy, and eating keeping track of the player's progress. In fact, you can visit them daily in the Octo Canyon. After all they've been through, it just goes to show that the Squid Sisters will always stick together no matter what, and their grandpa Cuttlefish must be very proud of them.
Okay,
now
who
last,
died?
But certainly not least, meet Agent 8. Agent 8 was once an Octarian soldier until one day she woke up with no memory of who she once was. The only thing she remembers is hearing the Squid Sisters' divine song I mentioned earlier. So even though she had no memory, she had a new sense of hope within her. Rather, if she was seeking freedom, redemption, a chance to make a difference in society, or all of the above, she had a new life goal, and that was to make it all the way to the Promised Land, aka Inkopolis. Now when Agent 8 woke up, she was accompanied by Captain Cuttlefish, the same old man who mentored Agent 3, who then decided to help Agent 8 along her journey. Now she is called Agent 8 because a suspicious yet seemingly helpful talking telephone marked her as number 10,008, but Captain Cuttlefish just referred to her as Agent 8. Now like Agent 3, it is actually up to the player if Agent 8 is male or female, but once again the female version is more iconic. Anyway, in order to get to the Promised Land, Agent 8 had to board a train inside an old spooky subway station that looks like nobody used it for decades, and the train was filled with very bizarre and creepy alien sea creatures. You know how
Fishes?
Tone originally seemed bright, colorful, and friendly? Well, the Octo expansion is a lot more dark, creepy, and creaturey. You know,
is that Dr. Robotnik?
Anyway, Agent 8 wasn't alone on her
I
journey.
love Sonic.
Not only was Captain Cuttlefish by her side, but she also had some help from Pearl and Marina, who are basically the successor to the Squid Sisters, and the members of the new fresh singing duo known as Off the Hook. It is believed that Pearl and Marina are also Agents 5 and 6.
Oh yeah.
All music stars secret agents in this game.
Pretty
Not to
much.
mention, Marina was actually the very first Octoling to hear the Squid Sisters' music and start a new leaf in Inkopolis. There's even quite a few stories in Pearl and Marina's chat rooms, one of which involved Marina wondering if Inklings would still accept her in society if they knew she was an Octoling. Basically, the Octo expansion tackles racism in a very similar way to Zootopia. Holy crap, I'm getting off topic. Anyway, Agent 8 also had help from a talking sea cucumber, who told her that in order to get to the Promised Land, she must complete a series of tests and collect a few special relics called the Four Fangs. Yes, they're actually called fangs. Now, this journey was definitely not as easy as it sounds. For starters, after the Octarians found out Agent 8 was no longer one of them, she was hunted down by her own kind who tried to terminate her. Let me put it to you this way. Imagine that the Octo expansion is World War II, and the Octarians are Nazis, and Agent 8 is an escaping Jew on the run.
Damn!
I know that's a very dark and
Hitler
way of putting it, but it's pretty much the most accurate metaphor I can use to describe it. Either way, it was really not a pleasant experience for Agent 8. Not only did she have to fight off an entire army of Octarians out to get her, but throughout her journey, she had to ink her way through a series of masochistically hard and stressful challenges. Trust me, that Octo Shower boss made me feel lightheaded. And if that's not enough, Sea Cucumber strapped a suicide bomber backpack to her, so she lives in constant fear that it'll go off if she makes even one mistake.
What the fuck?
I know, it's messed up, and this is supposed to be a kid's game. To be honest, I'm surprised Agent 8 doesn't have PTSD. Although, on the bright side,
I wouldn't be
Agent 8
surprised.
also got to collect mem cakes, which slowly restore small parts of her memories. Not much is known about Agent 8's personality, as she is mute throughout the game, although she has shown quite a fondness for poetry, as she writes one for every mem cake she collects. Now, after she finally collects the Four Fangs, they form to build a giant blender, which the talking phone uses to try and kill Agent 8 and Captain Cuttlefish.
Why?
What a twist, huh? But luckily, they were saved by Agent 3. After that, Agent 8 went knee-deep into the Octarians' lair, fought off waves of Octarians like Rambo, fought against Agent 3 while she was brainwashed and freed her from it, and after everyone somehow made it out alive, Agent 8 has finally reached the Promised Land. And not to mention she got a ride from Pearl and Marina. It all seemed like a happy ending at first, until the big, unexpected climatic twist came in. Suddenly, a giant human statue emerged out of the water, and the statue was being controlled by the talking phone from earlier.
God
Turns out
damn
that
it.
phone was actually a 12,000-year-old AI life form named Tartar. His prime directive was to pass humanity's vast knowledge onto the next worthy life form. But when the Inkling and Octarian races evolved, Tartar despised
Curse your
them
talking
so
phones.
much that he decided that he will destroy this world and start anew. Tartar's plan was to wipe out all Inklings, Octarians, and all other life forms on this planet to extinction and repopulate the world with his own so-called ultimate life forms created in his image, basically trying to play God
Shadow.
and failing. Anyway, the giant statue was also a weapon that was said to be powerful enough to destroy the entire world. In fact, Marina has even calculated the amount of energy within the statue, and she determined that it is in fact powerful enough to destroy the world. And Marina is just as smart as she is hot. In other words, she's very smart. So I highly doubt she was bluffing.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
It's actually a planetary feat. When it said destroy the world, I believe it meant it would destroy all inhabitants and everything on the surface of the planet, very similar to what happened on
Damn.
Judgment Day in the Terminator series.
That sounds less
attack
OP.
potency of this weapon is unknown, although from what was shown, it has confirmed to be at the very least city level, as should the player lose the final battle, the game over screen shows the city of Inkopolis getting destroyed. Now, how are they going to be able to stop something like this? Well, as it turns out, the statue is actually solar powered, so the only way to stop it was to cover the entire statue in ink before destroying it. So it was up to Agent 8 to single-handedly cover the entire statue in ink. Okay, I know she has some outside help because Marina placed special hyper bombs all over the statue, but it was Agent 8 who had to manually detonate all those hyper bombs one by one in only 3 minutes or less. After Agent 8 totally inked up the statue, and after a very long and intensely hard-fought epic battle, with the combined efforts of Agent 8, Agent 3, Pearl and Marina, and Captain Cuttlefish, but mostly Pearl's Booyah battle cry, together they destroyed the statue, defeated Tartar, and saved both races in the entire world from yet another apocalyptic
Please tell me the
destruction.
talking phone's
And
gone.
in the end, our 5 heroes sat down, basked in the sunset, and enjoyed the view of the end credits. Okay, now that I finally finished explaining the
So
life story of each
beautiful.
character, it's time to talk about what these Squid Kids are capable of. For starters, Inklings have many natural abilities, such as being able to shapeshift between kid and squid forms, as well as camouflaging in ink, color changing with chromatophores, squid jumping, and not to mention a minor healing factor. In fact, Inklings have a rather interesting anatomy. Inklings don't have bones, and their bodies are actually made of solidified liquid, kinda like Jello. And they're very flexible and can squeeze through even the tightest spaces. Don't let
That's
that go
what
to
she
your head.
said.
Their eyes can detect prey from up to 100 meters away, and while combat and fashion are the two main things that an Inkling's mind are commonly fixated on, they are naturally highly intelligent
Defense,
beings.
high pressure.
In fact, human
Okay.
intelligence was said to be primitive compared to an Inkling's, which is quite impressive. Now, all Inklings likely have the exact same levels of physicality, so let's dive into it. Now, even though Inklings are likely more naturally athletic than humans, they haven't really shown many feats of physical strength, but that's probably because they don't usually rely on their strength in combat. Now, the closest thing I can think of is that Inklings can wield a weapon called the sloshing machine, which is basically a weaponized washing machine. How many people
frick?
can you think of who can casually lift and swing around a 200-pound washing machine as if it weighs nothing? Now, while
Goku?
the Inklings might lack in strength, they definitely make up for it with the attack potency of their weapons. Now, it has been consistently shown that the common ink guns can fire ink with enough force and pressure to break through solid metal, including titanium. This is actually quite comparable to specially designed high-pressure water jet cutters, which dispense water with enough pressure to slice through metal, which requires 55,000 psi. Now, that's one heck of a super soaker.
Was that from
Basically,
Deathbound?
if you got shot by an Inkling, you would die almost instantly. No doubt they'll be OP in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Hell
but I'll
yeah.
talk more about weapons later. Now, in terms of speed, not only can their Super Squid Jump travel hundreds, if not thousands of feet in only a few seconds, but the Inklings have very impressive reaction speed. In the Splatoon manga, an Inkling once
Okay,
dodged
the
a
fuck?
shot from an E-liter scope, which is basically an ink-powered sniper rifle. Not only that, but the same Inkling once dodged an ink strike, and then he dodged 3 ink strikes at once. An ink strike is basically a missile packed with an explosive ink tornado. Now, the average
Again,
missile travels
what the
between
fuck?
2,000 and 7,500 miles per hour, and this Inkling was able to dodge all 3 missiles at once. Even if you want to consider these manga feats to be non-canon, they are supported by very similar feats shown in the games. Now that we've gotten speed out of the way, let's see just how tough these Squid Kids are. Now remember what I said earlier about the ink gun's attack potency being the equivalent of 55,000 psi? Well, an Inkling's body is actually tough enough to tank at least several of these high-pressured ink shots before they go splat. Not only that, but the Agent Inklings also wear a special layer of armor, which allows them to withstand
AKA
even
jacket.
more damage. In fact, with this armor, an Inkling can survive getting stomped on by the Octo Stomp, which packs quite a wallop. They can also survive getting crushed by massive bowling balls big enough to make Indiana Jones Boulder jealous. Not to mention, they've even survived massive explosions estimated to cover an entire city block. which is quite impressive. Now, should an Inkling lose this armor layer, luckily the armor regenerates after about 7 or 8 seconds. Not to mention, Inklings can also find and wear a few additional pieces of temporary armor as well. Now finally, let's talk about the Inklings' weapons. Now, there are 7 classes of weapons, including shooters, rollers, chargers, sloshers, splatlings, dualies, and brellas. And there are many different types of weapons within these classes, which each come with their own sub-weapon and special attack. Now, normally it is actually up to the player which weapon their Inkling gets, but it turns out that all 4 of these characters in tonight's battle each have their own preferred specific type of weapon in canon.
Yay.
Agent 3's main weapon is obviously the signature splatter shot. The splatter shot shoots ink projectiles at a moderately rapid rate, and the sub-weapon that comes with it is the burst bomb, which is basically an explosive ink balloon that explodes on contact. Not only that, but its special attack is splashdown. After Agent 3 charges up her special meter, she leaps into the air and releases a massive ink explosion upon landing. Now as for the Squid sisters, Callie's favorite weapon class is the roller, and being an agent, she likely wields the hero roller, which is basically a giant paint roller used to spread ink across turf and flatten enemies like a steamroller. An explosive curling stone, and its special is splashdown. Now as for Marie, her favorite weapon class is the Charger. In fact, Marie was once seen wielding a hero charger. Chargers are built for long-range stream shots and pack one of the strongest punches of all ink weapons, as a fully charged shot can one-shot any Inkling. The hero charger sub is a splat bomb, which has a delayed explosion after it's thrown, and its special attack is the Stingray, a massive ink laser that pierces through everything and looks like an ink Kamehameha. Now finally, as for Agent 8,
I knew it. Dragon Ball Z was confirmed.
Revealed, the male and female Octolings were wielding 2 different weapons, the E-Leader and the Octobrush. Once again, the female Agent 8 is more iconic, so we'll go with the weapon she's wielding. Like I mentioned earlier, the E-Leader scope functions very similarly to a sniper rifle. While its charge speed and mobility aren't as good as the Hero Charger, the E-Leader has the longest range of all chargers and packs quite a punch as well. Its sub is the Ink Mine, which is exactly what it sounds like, and its special is Ink Storm, which creates a large cloud that makes it rain ink. With all of this combined, the Inklings are definitely capable of a lot more than expected, but that's not to say they don't have their fair share of weaknesses. While battle strategy is one of an Inkling's main specialties, they can be countered or outmatched by foes with a superior strategy. Not only that, but Inklings have a semi-limited supply of ink in the tank, and if the meter says low ink, the Inkling will have to wait for their tank to slowly refill itself. Luckily, submerging themselves in ink helps refill it faster. Not to mention, Inklings can be a bit of sore losers sometimes. Now as for their biggest and most exposable weakness, while Inklings can definitely take a lot of physical abuse, because their bodies are made of liquid, they are fatally vulnerable to water. If an Inkling's body is completely submerged in water, they will melt
Another
like
weakness
witches,
is that all of their ink
considering
weapons
that
are the same. Like, they all use the same thing.
If you ask me. But despite all this, these
They
Squid kids will
use
never
the
back
same
down from a
ammo,
fight, and they're always ready to
apparently,
ink up the
so, yeah.
competition, and they will always, quote-unquote, stay fresh. It has been 30 years since 2 old friends have last spoken to each other. One was named Henry, a man who used to work at an old cartoon studio, and the other was named Joey Drew, who is basically a Walt Disney wannabe. Anyway, Joey Drew asked Henry to come visit the old workshop, and when Henry returned to the old abandoned cartoon studio, he found the ink machine, which was originally used to pump and transfer ink throughout the studio like a sewer pipeline system. But when Henry turned on the ink machine, he discovered something that perhaps was never meant to be discovered. And by doing so, he made one hell of a big mistake.
Boo!
Ladies and gents, meet Bendy, an old-fashioned cartoon dancing ink demon, and he's not
Do
alone.
the floss!
For this battle, Bendy will be accompanied by his best friends Boris the Wolf and Alice Angel, along with Sammy Lawrence, but I'll talk about him later. Anyway, the big question you're probably all wondering is, will I be using composite characters for this battle? Well, yes and no. Confused? Well, allow me to explain. You see, it has been confirmed that the ink machine actually creates life-sized ink models, which are likely possessed by the souls of past workers, but that's a different topic. Anyway, in the game, there are many duplicated models of Boris and Alice Angel, and because they are life-size models based on the cartoon characters, technically none of them are the actual true characters. So here's what I'm going to do for this battle. I'm going to focus mainly on the original cartoon characters of Bendy, Boris, and Alice Angel, analyzing their personalities and character traits, and then I'm going to be be using physical feats from their ink model counterparts in the game. Because these living ink figures were modeled after the original characters, it should stand to reason that the original characters can physically scale to them. Okay, now that I explained how this is going to work, let's dive into it, shall we? What better way to start off than with Bendy? Bendy is the star pupil created by Joey Drew Studios. Bendy is a cheerful, fun-loving, yet helplessly mischievous dancing demon with a big grin and a huge desire for trouble, which suits his devilish nature as he's quite the little devil himself.
Described nearly every single kid in school.
Easily startled or timid. Not much has been revealed about the characters themselves yet, but the Meatly will likely reveal more about them in the future. Now, being an ink demon, Bendy has quite a few impressive abilities. For starters, Bendy has the ability to telekinetically control and manipulate ink. In fact, he can make an entire room flood with ink with just his presence alone. Let me put it to you this way. It's very similar to water bending, but with ink instead of water.
Yeah.
You know, somebody should make that a fan fiction. Bendy the Ink Bender. Anyway, because Bendy has enough balance of
you get people like this now.
Entire building, this should be at most building level in terms of supply and ammunition. Not only that, but Bendy can also camouflage himself in ink, phase through walls, summon a potentially endless amount of ink minions at his disposal, and not to mention Bendy has a special machine that turns globs of ink into solid objects, including basic tools, pipes, music players, and weapons. In fact, Bendy's two strongest weapons are the signature axe, which is exactly what it sounds like, and the Tommy gun, an old-fashioned submachine gun that was often used in the Prohibition era. Unlike real Tommy guns, this gun has unlimited ammo, although ironically it must be reloaded after using it several times. Now, Bendy has shown to be moderately skilled in hand-to-hand combat as he was able to kill the projectionist with his bare hands, which leads me to Bendy's physicality. When Bendy completely submerges himself in ink, he can grow his arms to gigantic size. In fact, his arms are strong enough to pull vehicles underwater, ink. Now, these vehicles appear to be roughly the size of golf carts, so they should weigh at least 1,000 pounds. Now, Bendy is pretty tough for a little guy, as he's durable enough to tank rapid bullets from the Tommy gun I mentioned earlier. In fact, bullets don't even faze him. Not only can his body withstand the bullet's kinetic energy, but it's also likely that because his body is made of liquid ink, solid projectiles have no effect on him. Now, we could call Bendy a speed demon, as he's fast enough to outrun a giant haunted taxi. Now, because this is the 1930s, cars didn't go very fast back then. Though this is clearly no ordinary taxi, so it's likely faster than a regular taxi. Even if we decide to highball this by scaling it to the fastest car in the world, the fastest cars on record travel at roughly 300 miles per hour, which is really highballing it for Bendy here. Now, some people may be thinking that Bendy can dodge the bullets from the Tommy gun, but if you look closely, he's actually tanking them more so than dodging them. Even if we say Bendy can dodge the bullets, the speed of a Tommy gun bullet is roughly 935 feet per second, which is 637.5 miles per hour, which is slightly less than the speed of sound. Enough said. Now finally,
like
Bendy
at least
has
like
a
less than
final form
100.
called Beast Bendy.
20.
This form basically bulks Bendy up and likely makes him stronger than his base form, as well as give him a mouth of cliche but terrifying sharp teeth. Beast Bendy's main method
Who
of
stole
attack is
Venom's
charging
mouth
at his
again?
opponent like a raging bull while phasing through walls so nothing stands in his way. However, even in this form, Bendy does have a few weaknesses. Not only is Bendy a bit of a coward and somewhat clumsy, but in the last chapter it has been confirmed that Bendy will have trouble detecting people if he can't hear them. So it's likely that Bendy can be ambushed by someone with very quiet ninja stealth skills. Not only that, but in beast form, Bendy acts a lot more violently aggressive and is more reliant on raw force than strategy, and he can be tricked into ramming into obstacles. Now, Bendy's biggest, most fatal weakness of all is the end. Yeah, this one's gonna be hard to explain. At the end of the game, Joey Drew's final recording said Bendy was there for his beginning, but he has never seen the end. Then Henry finds a film reel titled The End. He plays it in the film projector, and when Bendy sees the words The End projected on screen, Bendy vanishes from existence. Now, I'm guessing this film reel has a supernatural power that acts as Bendy's kryptonite when played. Or perhaps it's a metaphor indicating that Bendy's life is like his show, and the show must go on, and he never wants it to end.
Are you fucking high?
Maybe this somehow relates to Mel Blanc's epitaph saying, "That's all, folks." Oh god, I'm going into the theory phase now, aren't I? You know what, never mind. Not to mention, Bendy was once shrunk and shoved into a bottle by the Butcher Gang, and as a bonus, because Bendy's body is made of synthetic ink, it's likely that his body can be thinned out, melted, or washed away when mixed with other liquids such as water. But despite all this inky little devil's gonna give it his all, and he'll always be ready to raise some hell. Next up, meet Boris the Wolf. He's totally not a goofy ripoff at all. Joking aside, Boris is a simple-minded, friendly wolf who usually has one thing on his mind: food. He can be a faithful friend, but only if his next meal doesn't get in the way. He's a bit clumsy and may get crossed when disturbed by his activities, but he is also shown to be a bit of a trickster and opportunist, such as when he wore a ghost costume to scare Bendy and steal his trick-or-treat basket. He is also shown a love for music while playing his clarinet. Not to mention, he is also shown to be quite timid in nature whenever trouble lurks nearby, and seems to have a fear of darkness. Anyway, not only is Boris decently skilled in fighting with an axe, but he's strong enough to break a steel door in one swing, fast enough to outrun a haunted taxi just like Bendy, and he's durable enough to survive an elevator crash with no damage whatsoever. Now, Boris's final form is Brute Boris. After Alice Angel removed Boris's internal organs, she, quote-unquote, gave him so much more. This form is basically like a hulkish Frankenstein version of Boris. In fact, Brute Boris is strong enough to lift and throw a roller coaster car. An average empty roller coaster car weighs about 550 kilograms, which is over 1,200 pounds. Making Brute Boris the physically strongest member of the Bendy Gang, but at a terrible price. Brute Boris's body is unfinished and unstable, and it has been stated in the archives that his organs were replaced with substances that his body is rapidly rejecting, which explains why he keeps coughing up ink blood. Plus, it also likely weakens his durability, as it only takes a few good hits to beat him. To be honest, that's really all I can say about Boris, for now at least. Now put your hands together and pray for Alice Angel. She's quite a gal. Sent from above, Alice Angel is a singing, dancing, heavenly sensation who brings a little light into everything she touches, often upsetting those who prefer dark. She appears to be very sweet and happy-go-lucky, as her angelic nature would imply. In fact, both her design and character seem to have quite a bit of inspiration from Betty Boop, another classic cartoon character from the 1930s. Although I doubt many youngsters of this generation would know who Betty Boop is, unless they've seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Anyway, in terms of physicality, Alice Angel isn't exactly a powerhouse, as she struggles to break a piece of wood nailed to a doorway, and she got killed by a stab to the heart. And yes, the ink models do in fact have organs. In fact, there's a part in Chapter 3 where Alice Angel asks you to collect ink organs for her. Don't ask why. Anyway, on the bright side, Alice Angel is a decently skilled sword fighter capable of fighting off dozens of ink monsters at once. Her main weapon of choice is a machete. Not to mention, Alice Angel can also outrun a taxi just like Bendy and Boris. Now, in some of the cartoon shorts, Alice Angel is seen riding a cloud, which is likely a method of transportation for her. And in one scene, while she was singing, a large ship was sinking in the background. Now, it is unknown if her singing somehow caused the ship to sink, or if it was just a coincidence and the ship was already sinking on its own. It's better just to stick to factual proof rather than making assumptions. While there's not much else to say about Alice Angel, I'll say this much: she definitely has the voice of an angel.
I'll be your angel and fly straight into your heart. Shaboo-doo-boo-boo, shaboo-boo-doo-bow.
Now finally, we have Sammy Lawrence, the only member of the Bendy Gang who wasn't originally a cartoon character like the others. Sammy Lawrence was once the director of the music department at Joey Drew Studios. He was a professional songwriter, and he really hated distractions, as his frustration is expressed with blunt and sarcastic disposition. But hey, with all the ink leaks and people flipping the switch in his office every day, can't say I blame him. Anyway, when the studio went bankrupt and was abandoned, Sammy Lawrence was corrupted by the ink, and he was essentially cursed with his soul trapped inside a monstrous body made of ink. In this form, Sammy has now become fanatical and mentally unstable. He worships Bendy like a god and offers him sacrifices to appease him in a similar method to satanic rituals. Even before Sammy was no longer human, he was already kind of a conspiracy nut. And workers like Wally Franks made that pretty clear in the audio recordings. Not to mention, Alice once said Sammy was a very good liar. Anyway, Sammy seems to suffer from severe memory loss, as he forgets what he's saying in mid-sentence and is so amnesic he can barely remember anything, except maybe Henry's face. Now, after Sammy was attacked by Bendy, he went completely nuts. Not that he wasn't already. After feeling betrayed by his own savior, Sammy bursted into psychopathic rage as his voice changed and he lost his mind to the point where he believed Henry was his former savior and he was bent on killing Henry. However, when his mask was knocked off, Sammy was apparently terrified of his own face, basically saying,
"Don't look at me! I'm hideous!"
Now, when Sammy was just about to kill Henry, he was killed by an axe to the head, and that was the end of Sammy Lawrence. Now, in terms of physicality, Sammy was able to knock out Henry in one swing, and even fight on par with Henry. So for this battle, we're going to scale him to Henry. In this case, Henry is strong enough to beat a test your strength game in one swing, can fight off multiple waves of ink monsters and Butcher Gang members. He single-handedly destroyed a living amusement park ride possessed by the soul of an egotistical theme park builder named Bertram Piedmont, survived plummeting from long falls and walked them off no problem, and even survived an elevator crash just like Boris. And what's more impressive is that Henry is pretty old. The letter at the beginning said it has been 30 years, and you've seen how old Joey Drew was at the end, right? So realistically, Henry should be in like his 50s or 60s by now, so he's pretty tough for an old man. In fact, not only can Sammy fight on par with Henry, but he even pinned him down and almost killed Henry in the process. And it only makes sense because, well, just check out that muscular structure. The archives even made that pretty clear. Now, despite how tough he is, it only takes a good axe to the head to take him out, and he's done for. That's all I can say. So, here we have the 4 members of the Bendy Gang. While they're weaker apart, they're stronger together. But will they be enough to take on the fresh Squid Kids of Inkopolis?
Nope.
Well, we're about to find out.
This is it, folks. Who will be the winner of this ultimate crazy epic showdown? It's time to find out. Now, without further ado, it's time for the show-off to showdown.
Get ready for the next battle.
I'm not ready. Is that Amy and Mario? Right. Is that Luffy? Not the legs. Oh, so that's what she's thinking of. I do. I never knew they can go through walls. You fight. Oh yeah. Watch out for your J's, man. Watch out for them J's. How long is the animation gonna be? I never knew Inklings can make their body parts into weapons. Damn it, I thought I was done. Jeez. 10 minutes. There might as well be fucking 15. But you. Yep.
Finish him. Fatality.
The Splatfest is donezo! To be honest, this actually would be a
Finally.
good Splatfest.
Okay, now after such a long, hard-fought epic battle, it's time to discuss how and why the Inklings win this epic, messy, ink-filled showdown.
Finally.
Since I've done a full-on pre-analysis for all 8 characters, I'm going to try and keep this short and simple, starting with who's more skilled and experienced. Now, because the Inklings have literally thousands of years of fighting experience, and fighting is their main specialty that they perfected throughout those millenniums, I think it's pretty clear who has the edge in fighting experience. While the members of the bendy game are decently skilled in combat in their own right, it's not nearly enough to match or compete with the skill of an Inkling, especially the Agent Inklings. Now let's discuss speed. Now, this is no contest. Even if we say Bendy is fast enough to dodge bullets from a Tommy gun, like I mentioned earlier, even though he was tanking them rather than dodging, once again, Tommy gun bullets only travel slightly less than the speed of sound. Although because the Thompson submachine gun shoots bullets rapidly instead of one at a time, we could say that Bendy is faster than the speed of sound since he was dodging multiple bullets fired at him rapidly, assuming he actually was dodging them in the first place. But even then, he still wouldn't be fast enough, as Inklings are fast enough to dodge 3 Ink Strike missiles at once. Sounds familiar, right? And each missile travels somewhere between 2,000 and 7,500 miles per hour. Enough said. Now let's discuss strength and durability. Now, because Alice Angel and Sammy Lawrence are pretty much the 2 weakest members on their team, they'll likely be taken out first, which leaves Bendy and Boris. Being able to lift vehicles weighing somewhere around 1,000 to 1,200 pounds, Bendy and Boris are presumably physically stronger than the Inklings, but their strength won't do them much good if they can't even catch the Inklings. Even if they could, they're gonna have a really hard time trying to penetrate the Inklings' armor due to the durability advantage I mentioned earlier in the pre-analysis. Not to mention, because the Inklings can see Bendy Bendy and Boris coming from literally 100 miles away, it'll be an even bigger pain in the arse for the Bendy gang. Now there's one more thing I'd like to discuss. Back when I made the first battle between Inkling versus Bendy, the biggest claim that many people were making was that Bendy could absorb the Inklings' ink and use it against them, even after I completely debunked that claim. Now to put this to rest once and for all, I'm gonna explain it one last time. Cephalopod ink and synthetic ink are two completely different liquid substances. How are they different, you may ask? Well,
the ink of an octopus, or any cephalopod, is composed of highly concentrated melanin. This is the same dark pigment that we humans have, and which is responsible for skin color and the color of dark hair. It is a natural dye that cephalopods manufacture in an ink sac. Most, but not all octopi have an ink sac and produce ink, but a few, such as the deep sea octopus, have lost this ability. The inks that we use in fountain pens or ballpoint pens today bear little resemblance to octopus ink. In its simplest form, the ink we write with is a pigment or dye in the binder. The first ink for writing and drawing was invented simultaneously in China and Egypt around 2500 BC. The first ink was made of lampblack, or soot, mixed with aqueous binders. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. In the Middle Ages and up to the 19th century, ink was made from such ingredients as gum arabic, copperas, gum apples, and water. Occasionally, soot was used for making the ink black, or minerals and other pigments can be used for color. In this century, ink has become more sophisticated. It is now usually made of synthetic dyes and compounds. Ink today may combine tannic,
What?
phthalic, and dilute hydrochloric acid with an iron salt, phenol, and a blue or black dye. This composition may optionally include a drying agent, an adhesive promoter, a color developer, and or a preservative. Some inks are made thicker, such as
What the fuck?
now if that isn't enough, I can visually prove this because I have done a real experiment with the two actual liquid substances that the characters use and or made of. And before you ask, yes, I actually spent real money on this crap, but hopefully it's put to a good use. Anyway, I
Nope.
poured synthetic ink and cuttlefish ink into a test tube to see what kind of chemical reaction it causes when the two liquids mix together. What was the result? Well, the resulting reaction is very similar to what happens when you put Mentos in a soft drink. The liquid mixture bubbles and rises higher than the amount put in, only it rises a lot slower than Mentos and soda. So the mixture has a very interesting chemical reaction. However, when I dumped the ink into the sink, the resulting mixture of the two liquids was pretty much just a useless mushy blob, which is exactly what Bendy will become if he tries to absorb the Inkling's ink. No doubt that'll backfire on him. Combine that with the fact that Bendy is getting rapidly blasted with 55,000 pounds of force per square inch by that same ink, or even more if you count the charger
No
weapons,
thanks.
or even getting flattened to death by an ink roller. There's no way that Bendy and Boris, even in their final forms, could withstand that. I think I've said enough. So overall, while the Bendy gang really knows how to kick it old school, the Inklings were just too fresh for the Bendy gang to handle. And we all know how the Retro versus Modern Splatfest went down, right? Now if there's anything I forgot to mention, I'll likely write it down in the comments later. So in the end, the Bendy gang just didn't have the right Inkling for this battle. The winners of this battle are the Inklings. Now keep in mind, this animation was not a simulation, so if there's anything
really.
that seemed a little off during the fight sequence, it was purely eye candy and not meant to be realistic at all. In fact, if the Inklings and Bendy gang actually met each other, it's more likely that they would actually get along quite well. With Bendy and Boris's enthusiastic, friendly nature, they'd fit right in with the Inklings. And with their love of music, Alice Angel and the Squid sisters are more likely to sing a duet together. Not to mention, you know how Sammy Lawrence has always wanted to be free from his evil inky curse? Well, it's possible that the Squid Sisters' heavenly melody just might do the trick. But because this is a versus matchup, they have to fight regardless, because that's...
Sorry, we forced them to do it.
right?
I'm sorry.
Now before we wrap this up, I'd like to give a special thanks to the MLG Avocado for animating one of the scenes of tonight's battle. He's got plenty of other amazing content, so do yourself a favor and go check out his channel and subscribe.
Next time on Showoff Showdown!
Yay, it's over. Ultron versus wherever his name is, Megatron. I don't take a.
Like the man said, what doesn't kill you just makes me stronger.
Okay, I'm just gonna watch my one on my own time because I ain't gonna sit down for more time.
Any ideas for
What about
Showdown? Then let me know in the comments below. And
Alright,
hopefully, I
so
just
without
might do
further
it.
ado, guys,
Now stay tuned for the next episode
please
of
punch the like
Showoff
button, phone,
Showdown.
computer, tablet, where you use to watch this video. Punch that screen, subscribe to my channel, because I've been torturing enough for sitting here for 50 minutes. Comment down below what do you want me to react to, and I'll do it whenever I get a chance. And without further ado, guys, peace out.